Hi guys, today we're going to talk about converting between fractions, decimals, and percents. And it's going to be pretty simple because we've done a lot of talking about converting between each of these individually, but haven't put all three together. So we're going to do that today. And the I can statements we're working on is I can convert a percent to a fraction in simplest form, I can convert a fraction to a percent in simplest form, and I can convert a percent to a decimal. So, if I want to go from decimals to percents, we talked about this in class, I am going to take my decimal, and since I'm going from D decimals to P percents using the Dr. Pepper method, I'm going to move my decimal to the right and always two places to give me 89%. Go ahead and try 788 thousandths in the work section of your WSQ. Okay, if you took your decimal and you moved it two places to the right, you would get 78 and 8/10%. Remember, you're only moving it two places, so wherever that leaves the decimal, you could have a decimal in your percent. Pause the video and try 1 6/10 in the work section of your WSQ. Okay, let's move percents to a decimal. Now, using Dr. Pepper, I'd have to move my decimal backwards to the left this time. So, or to undo the percent, which like the problems we did in the previous slide. So I would take my decimal and I would move it two places to the left to give me 759 thousandths. Go ahead and try 25 and 4/10%. Okay, if you did this one, you should have gotten 254 thousandths. Pause the video and try 73%, but remember, if you don't see a decimal in a number, it always goes at the end. Okay, let's talk about converting decimals to fractions. In this problem right here, there's a couple things you could do. You could always, you could have dropped, since we go to the hundredths place, since our decimal ends up at the hundredths place, I could have dropped the decimal and said 159 over 100. Because really you've got 1 59 hundredths, which is what most of you would probably do. But if you dropped the decimal and said 159 over 100, you'd be all right, but then you'd have to simplify to get 1 59 over 100. Both of these are fine. They both equal the same thing. But this is the way that you are going to want to write it, which is exactly how you read it. Go ahead and try 22 hundredths. Okay, to do this one, you would write it like you read it. 22 over 100 for 22 hundredths, but then you'd have to simplify and divide the numerator and the denominator both by 2 to get 11/50ths. Go ahead and try 1 16 hundredths. Okay, let's talk about converting fractions to decimals. Pretty simply, we've been doing this in class. You take the numerator, in this case the 9, and divide it by the denominator, and whatever you get, that's your decimal amount. So 9 divided by 16 is 5,625 10,000ths. And there's nothing else you can do from there. Go ahead and try 4/10. Okay, this one you probably didn't need to divide for because 4/10 is already written in a way that we would read a decimal, which is 4/10. But if you went ahead and divided 4 divided by 10, you still would have gotten 0.4. Try 11/20ths in the work section of your WSQ. Okay, to turn a fraction to a percent, there's a couple things you can do. If you look at the denominator and you can make the denominator 100, that's probably going to be the easiest way to do it. So you could say that you turn that 20 to 100 by multiplying by 5, and 33 times 5 would give you your percent. Or If you turned it into a decimal first and did 33 divided by 20, you would get 1 65 hundredths. Then you would turn that decimal into a percent. And now we're going from D to P. So we're going to go to the right 2 places to get 165%. Go ahead and try 19 tenths. Okay? If you said, okay, I can multiply 19 times 10 and 10 times 10 to get a denominator of 100, you would get 190%. Or if you divided 19 divided by 10 and turned it into a decimal first, you'd get 1 9 tenths, which again, once you move that decimal twice, would give you 190%. Try 11/16 in the work section of your WSQ. Okay, let's go from percents to fractions. Easiest way you can do this is take the decimal and turn it into turn your percent into a decimal first. So if I'm going from percent to decimal, I'm going to move the decimal to the left 2 places. 1, 2, which will give me 842 thousandths, which I write 842 over 1,000, and then you would have to simplify. Go ahead and try 86%. Okay, to do this one, you still take your decimal, which is at the end. If we don't see a decimal, we put it at the end of our number, and we take our decimal and we move it 2 places to the left, because I'm going from percent to decimal, which would give me 86 hundredths as a decimal. I write that as a fraction and simplify. Go ahead and try 135%, but keep in mind there's no decimal in it, so it goes at the end, and you're only going to convert your percent to a decimal first by going 2 places, and only 2 places to the left. We are done with this video. You can go back and watch any portion of this video as many times as you need to, or the entire thing, but don't forget to WSQ in your notes.